welcome back to my channel. So it's been a hot little minute since I filmed a makeup tutorial, so I wanted to come back to you guys doing a soft glam type of look and kind of jazz it up using some holiday ornaments. So I really hope you guys enjoy this look. I started off with my eyebrows already done. If you like the way this brow looks, I'm thinking about putting it in my next tutorial so you can show you guys how I got it done. For a long time I was kind of like more into like a natural brow, but the other day I was just kind of trying out some new brow looks and everything like that, and I really like the way this one turned out. So I think I'm going to kind of stick with this one for a while. So I definitely want to show you guys if you're interested. So just let me know down below in the comments and I'll make sure to put it down in my next tutorial. So as always, I primed my eyes using the Makeup Revolution Concealer in C12. The first shadow that I'm going in with is from the Pat McGrath Mothership 5 palette, and this is the shade Entrapment. I'm going to start buffing that into the crease using a Morphe M506 brush. You guys already know that this is like my favorite brush to use for all of my eye looks. So I'm going to be alternating 3 of these brushes for each color that I use. So I'm going to go ahead and buff that into the crease and just make sure the edges are really well blended. I want this look to be super soft on the edges, no harsh lines or anything like that. So I'm really taking my time to make sure it's really well blended. The next color I'm going into is from the Morphe 39A palette. This is just one of the larger transition colors, and I'm going to use that shade to buff out the edges of Entrapment from the Pat McGrath palette. Then I'm going to go into the shade Disobedient and add that into the crease to smoke out the eyes a little bit more and give it that extra bit of depth. So that's pretty much all I did for the crease colors. To start off the lid, I'm going to go back in with that Makeup Revolution concealer. This one is in the shade C1, and I'm just going to pat that all over the lid and kind of make sure that the edges are kind of blurred out. So I'm not going in like with like a cut crease or anything like that, but I do want to kind of shape out the lid. So I'm just using patting motions to make sure I get that concealer on. And if you feel like the lines are still a little too harsh, you can always go back in with one of your previous blending brushes to give it an extra blend. I'm then going to set that concealer using a lighter eyeshadow. I'm using this off-white color from this Violet Voss Creme Brulee palette. This is one of the fun size palettes that they just recently came out with. Before I apply any lashes, I'm going to use some mascara just to kind of coat my lashes so they blend in really well with the falsies. Then for lashes today, I'm using the Lilly lashes in the style Mykonos. For skin, I'm going for a really glowy kind of radiant type of look. So I'm using 2 different primers today. The first one I use is a spray primer from Urban Decay. So I'm just going to spritz that all over my face. This is supposed to kind of give you like that extra like boost of like radiance and everything like that. Then for the next one, I'm going to be using Jouer's Anti-Aging Moisture Primer. I'm going to smooth that all over my skin before I go in with some liquid highlight. I've been really loving applying liquid highlighter before I go in for foundation, so I'm using this OPV one, and this is in the shade Starlight, I believe. And I'm going to apply that onto all the high points of my face, so a little on the forehead, cheekbones, nose, cupid's bow, just to kind of give like that inner glow underneath my foundation. Then for foundation today, I'm going in with an OG. This is the MAC Studio Fix Fluid in the shade NC45. I'm just gonna basically spread that all over my skin just to make sure I get a nice thin layer, and then buff it out using a flat foundation brush. Next, it's time for concealer. I'm using two separate concealers today because I really wanted to use the MAC Pro Longwear concealer. The MAC Pro Longwear concealer I love, but it's a little bit on the stickier side, and it's definitely like one of those concealers that dries a lot faster. So to kind of balance it out, I'm mixing it in with the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Concealer. So I'm going in with the Laura Mercier first and just kind of hitting all those high points, and then I'm going to add a little bit of the Pro Longwear concealer just on the areas where I kind of need like the extra brightness because it is a little bit lighter, and blend from there. Then of course you want to make sure you set everything with powder that you applied concealer. So I'm using the Dermablend Loose Translucent Powder. Then to give a little bit of extra brightness underneath the eyes, I'm using the Too Faced Banana Setting Powder. This is the one that comes in the compact from their Tutti Frutti collection. I absolutely love this powder. It just kind of gives like that extra boost of like brightness underneath the eyes. So I love like popping this like just on the inner portion of the under eye. Then to bring back some warmth and color into my skin, I'm using two different bronzers from Anastasia. These ones are, I think, Mahogany and Saddle. I'm mostly using the lighter of the two though, which is Saddle. I'm only using a little bit of the Mahogany color because it's a little bit on the red side, so I feel like using them both together kind of balances them out. I'm going to be placing that pretty much on the perimeter of the face, so a little bit on the temples, cheekbones. I like to put some underneath the nose as well to kind of give it like that lifted look, and as well as on the jawline just to make sure there's no like line of demarcation between the neck area and my chin. Then next we can go ahead and finish up the eyes. I'm just going to be using those two same brown eyeshadows that I used from the Pat McGrath palette and pop those onto the lower lash line to reflect the smokiness of the crease. For the waterline, I'm going to go in with the L'Oreal eye pencil. This is an off-white type of color. I love using these types of colors versus like a pure white on my waterline because I feel like it's way more flattering on my skin tone. I love using this step when I'm doing softer looks because it keeps the eyes nice and open and gives me like that wide awake type of look. Then to finish off the eyes, I'm just going to add a little bit of that Lancôme mascara onto the lower lashes. The highlighter that I'm using today is from Ofra Cosmetics. This one is in the shade Blissful. I'm applying that onto all the high points of the face. I feel like this highlighter goes perfectly with this look. It just kind of gives like that dewy effect, which is definitely what I was going for. I noticed when I was applying it though, I was struggling trying to like get it really smooth like how I usually get my highlighter, but it's because I didn't apply my setting spray before I applied my highlighter, which is like crazy because I always do that. So just make sure you apply some setting spray before you go in with your highlight, so that way you get like that nice smooth effect once you're done. So to start off the ornaments, I'm going to be using a white eyeliner from NYX. I'm basically creating the shape of my ornaments, trying to figure out how far apart they're going to be, how large, so that way I have a guide to use when I start perfecting the circles and creating my designs. Once I have an idea of how that's going to look, I'm going to go in with the Danessa Myricks Colourfix, and this one is in the shade Lift. I'm going to use this to outline the circles that I just created. I'm also going to bring this color inwards towards the center and create somewhat of a gradient to give the ornaments more of a three-dimensional type of vibe. So at this point, I liked where the ornaments were kind of going. I was just a little afraid that when I created the designs, I wouldn't be able to kind of see them as well because of how white the background is. So I went in with some eyeshadows from the same Creme Brulee palette and patted them into the center of the circles and kind of dragged it outwards. So that way when I create my designs later on, they'll show up a little bit more vibrantly against those shadows. Then for the designs, I'm gonna work on each ornament at a time. I pretty much for the first one did like a little stripe and some zigzag, like curly zigzags like on the top and bottom. For the one on the bottom, I just did a lot of like little curls. I feel like I could have done that one a little bit better, but I was like really excited when I was doing this look, so my hands were kind of like shaking. But either way, I feel like it turned out pretty good. And then for the smallest one, I just did like little vertical lines across it. And that's pretty much it for the ornaments, like the designs. I did add a little bit of like some squares on the top of the ornaments to kind of give the illusion of like a cap on top of it, like when you see like an ornament. And then once that's done, I'm gonna go ahead and start working on the little chains. So I wanted to make sure I got really straight lines. So I went back in with that white eyeliner and kind of used a straight edge. This is a Becca primer. This is just what was close to me, but I would probably recommend using like a business card or something like that. I put some eyeliner on the edge of the primer and press the edge onto the areas where I want the little chains. So that way when I do my dots, it comes out a little bit straighter and I have like a guide to kind of follow, so I'm not like going all over the place. So once the lines are there, I'm gonna go ahead and start creating those dots. As Jane said, who is my inspiration for this look, Painting with Jane on YouTube, she said just to find your happy place with these dots because it is a little bit time consuming for sure. So that's pretty much what I did. And pretty much how I did the dots is I did 4 little ones and I did a larger, like a bigger dot, and just kind of followed that pattern. Then to jazz up the chains a little bit more, I went in with some Swarovski crystals and using my lash glue, I placed a few of them on the larger dots that I created. Going back to the ornaments, I wanted to add some silver on the inside, so I went in with the JDGlow Cosmetics metallic liquid liner in chrome and just added a few extra details on the inside. Then at this point, I felt like the look was kind of missing something. So I went back in with some Swarovski crystals and added them onto the top of my eyebrows. I added an extra one onto the lower lash line underneath my left eye, as well as the inner corners, like some smaller ones there. And then I also added an extra chain on the left eye, just to kind of bring the look together, I guess. But after that, I didn't really do much of anything else. I felt like I was kind of getting to that point where I didn't really know what else to do. Usually when my mind gets to that point, I just stop because I feel like if I add something else, it's gonna like mess everything up. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the look, guys, as far as the ornaments are concerned. At this point, I just went ahead and started working on my lips. I did 2 different lip pencils today, both from Colourpop. The first one I'm using is BFF3, just to normally line my lips, and then I went in with Pitch to kind of create like that extra shadow that I always do. Then to fill them in, I went in with Too Faced Melted Matte Liquid Lipstick in Child Star. I added a little bit to my bottom lip, blotted it together, and then patted everything down and blended it into the lip liner using my finger. And then of course I had to add a gloss. Like, a gloss is called for in this look, guys. So I went in with JDGlow Cosmetics, a new lip gloss in the shade Smitten. I felt like the shade went perfectly together because it has like those silver reflex and everything. So it just really kind of like pulled the look together. But that's pretty much it for this look, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to check out Painting with Jane here on YouTube. She's such an amazing artist and I love her work so much. I'm gonna leave all of her info down below in the description box if you guys are interested in that sort of thing, as well as all the products that I use for this look. Let me know what you guys think about the tutorial down below in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in my next video.